The Nintendo Switch 2 is about to have a used console marketplace that is going to be out of this world crazy. Yeah, we're still only in the first month of this console's lifespan, but already we have actually seen a few different reportings of people who buy a used Nintendo Switch 2 from actual official retailers, and it turns out the console is bricked. So to give you some more context, we actually have to go back a few months. Nintendo, just not too long ago, announced this sort of anti-piracy measure. Essentially, they updated their terms and conditions to state that they could actually brick consoles if they found that piracy or nefarious activities such as that were occurring on these consoles. Now, they didn't use the term bricking, but a lot of people are. Basically, bricking means that you turn the console into basically something that is worthless, because you're making it so that not only can the console not use any online functions, but I believe it also means that any games that have been downloaded already onto the console from the eShop do not work. It's just overall going to be a completely useless device. Now, that by itself might not sound too bad, because yeah, I suppose Nintendo has the right to do whatever they want, for pirates. At the end of the day, this is only negatively affecting these pirates, so, not a big deal. Well, the thing is, yeah, no, it's not just affecting pirates. You can pretty much put two and two together with what I was saying at the start. Yeah, this is affecting people who are eventually buying these consoles that were owned from these pirates or these alleged pirates, because then they are buying this console that is essentially bricked. And yes, believe it or not, even though we are in the first few weeks of this console's lifespan, as I said, we have already gotten these reportings. The big one that went kind of viral on Reddit was this one right here. So this person says, found one, didn't end well. And they show right here that yes, their Nintendo Switch 2 console is bricked. This is essentially the error code that you get when you have a console that, is banned from these online activities. Now, they did go on to state in their Reddit post that basically they bought this from Walmart, and yeah, they took it home and they got this message. Now, I do have to say that thankfully they did also state that Walmart gave them a full refund for this, so that's good. But others might not be so lucky, especially if you buy them on like eBay, stuff like that. So a lot of people are now calling for, Switch 2s, and specifically people that are selling them used, to post some sort of verification that the console is not bricked. Unfortunately, I can't think of a perfect way that you could do that though. Overall, it is kind of weird because it sounds like a lot of this, and how Nintendo is detecting these alleged pirates, a lot of it has to do with these MIG chips or these cartridges. Now, I did not know much about them before today. I looked a little bit more into things. Essentially, these are flash cartridges. Now, these flash cartridges have been around since the Switch 1. Basically, you can have ROM files in them, and now by itself, these cartridges are not illegal. They kind of act as a storage device, so obviously you can put whatever you want on there, and yes, you can, legally put backups of games that you have purchased yourself onto these chips. But what Nintendo seems to not like about these kind of third-party devices is that, yes, you can play pirated games on them. And if you haven't heard about MIG cartridges, you will hear about them quite a bit more going forward, because it doesn't sound like they were used much before the Switch 2. I don't think they were like the specific model that was used on the Switch 1, but this is kind of the style of cartridges for the Switch 2. So basically, this is what these kind of chips look like. Again, as I said, completely legal from what I can see. It doesn't, by default have any pirated software on it. I don't support piracy or anything like that, just for the record. But yes, unfortunately for the time being, it does seem that Nintendo's ban on these MIG cartridges seems to be sort of automatic. If you put it in the Switch 2 console, it doesn't really matter what you have on the cartridge. It doesn't really matter if it's all 100% legally purchased games. That console is going to get bricked. That much seems to be pretty clear, and unfortunately, what makes things very complicated now for the Switch 2 market going forward, especially for the used consoles, is that you kind of don't know what you're buying, especially if you're buying it online before you have the chance to really check it out yourself. You don't know if you're buying a console that is really good, it was just only used for a couple days and is pretty much in brand new condition, or if you're just buying just a useless piece of plastic. We're going to be hearing a lot about this sort of thing, I think, for quite a while now in the Switch 2 marketplace. While on the surface, this whole anti-piracy measure from Nintendo does seem to be effective, as I said, the consequences are not 100% being taken taken on by these pirates. Unfortunately, some of the consequences are being felt by used Switch 2 buyers, and that is a huge problem.